217.
Okay, so this is part 2 of our Lilac Lane maple syruping. Here's a picture of some of the finished product.
Just some 120 gallon thing. No.
So, most of you don't know, it takes 3 people to make maple syrup. Here we have the master maple syrup technician, Tom Wilder.
Sterile. PhD in syruping.
PhD in syruping. Tom, can you kind of explain here what you got, what's going on here?
Above 180 degrees to pasteurize it, but below the boiling point of maple syrup, which is 217.4 Fahrenheit. And these will seal up real nicely with a little half-inch head space there. He sterilizes the lids in boiling water.
So, how do we get to this point? What's the process?
Well, the process starts at the tree, and that's the sap, which is about 2 to 4% sugar content, and now we're at about, I think, 66%. I think is what it is.
So we saw in our first video that you do most of the processing outside on the dragon, then you bring it in.
And we fine-tune it here. This is probably a boiling point of 210.5, which is where water boils in Minnesota, because we're about 975 feet above sea level. And then we bring it up to the 217.4, this contents, and we filter it through our very high-tech filter operation, also OSHA approved and FDA.
It is FDA, you're right. It's got wood, so that would qualify for FDA approval. What's the, how many times do you filter it through there?
One time through that, but I decant it just on the kitchen counter prior to filtering.
And what would decanting mean?
Just pour off the liquid finished syrup and leave the mineral content in the bottom of the pan. At the bottom of, so usually it takes about 24 hours to settle out by itself.
So to get a gallon of syrup, how many gallons of sap do you estimate?
Early in the season, 25. Late in the season, maybe 40 to 60.
Okay. And for that same gallon of syrup, how many beers do you think that you have to drink?
I don't know. The beer to syrup gallon ratio. We had a beer emergency this afternoon.
And what was that?
We ran out of beer.
We ran out of beer. So fortunately, it is a Saturday in Minnesota. Well, here we got a good boil going on.
And the woman in front of me said she had gotten pulled over for speeding and blew .079.
In the afternoon?
No, recently. We're not in Wisconsin.
Oh.
But she was a half a mile away from home and was allowed to go home.
Oh.
And he said she was one lucky driver.
So for those of you who were part of the first video on Lilac Lane maple syruping, we just want to bring you up to speed on how the finishing process occurs. So there's obviously a lot of nutritional value that goes into the process, and of course the final product.
These don't even have to be sterilized.
Is right here. Stay tuned. We're working on the possibility of doing a little benefit for the West Texas victims. Hopefully we can pull that together. Thanks for watching, and if you want to come and maple syrup and drink beer, you're always welcome.